Hey y'all, welcome to the Moving with Millennials podcast with your favorite millennial realtors.
We are 4 top producing agents in the DFW area, and we are ready to share the good, bad, and the real life of real estate.
Whether you're thinking about getting into real estate, already an agent, or just curious about what your agent really does, join us.
Tune in every Wednesday to see what it's really like to be on this side of the transaction. Hey y'all, welcome to this week's episode of Moving with Millennials. This one is going to be kind of fun. We're going to chat a little bit. We get a lot of questions. Actually, I want to say this was a very popular request, and it was about investing in real estate. So agents wanting to know, like, how can they consult their clients on investing? And then, of course, clients always wanting to know, how can they get into investing? So we're going to talk about all the different ways that you can invest in real estate and really why real estate, in my opinion, and I think most of our opinions, is a very smart investment.
Yeah.
So
I don't know. I'm about to put all my money in NFTs. Is what we're talking about.
do it, Jake. Let us know how that goes.
Yeah.
Paris Hilton said it was a good idea, so I believe it.
Don't do it.
Yeah,
I would say real estate is the safest investment for your money.
I think it depends. If we're talking about long-term, safest investment, yes. Short-term, it can be risky.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yes, I agree.
I think it depends on your goals.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think we'll talk about some of those risks too.
Yeah,
because that's
for sure.
important as well.
Yeah.
So there's 3 types of investment properties, and the first one is a flip, a home that you want to flip and turn it into an investment property. Then there's short-term rentals like Airbnb, VRBO, and then long-term rentals, and we'll discuss throughout the episode the types.
Ones that you purchase and hold.
Yeah.
And you can also, we're going to talk probably more residential, but you can invest in commercial real estate. You can, I know some people do land, like people are flipping land and reselling. Commercial is huge right now. Warehouse space is so needed.
Do you know what I really want? I want to buy a car wash.
Yes.
So they're actually really
and
crazy good
storage
investments.
centers.
Car washes, and then plus like adding a vending machine on it. Like I just watched this video like all about like owning vending machines. Like I want to buy a car wash. It's like on my 5-year goals right now.
That and like Brandie said, the storage units
centers,
are huge right now.
Yeah.
Because they need
The vending machines, I've watched that video though, and I was like, we're getting 5!
I know, yeah. I literally like Googled like purchasing.
Have you seen the lady? She like goes and refills everything.
Yeah,
It's just
yes.
like, okay, so
Yeah.
that's maybe on our
Anyways.
next.
Can I put a
to-do list.
gumball machine in for you?
Sure. Yes.
We have one at home.
Just strap it on top of the vending
Yes.
machine.
Yeah. So let's just talk about let's talk about what is it that you need to do, or kind of just that hump of I know there's people who they want to invest, they're really excited, we're talking yes, let's do it, but there's just that initial you just got to do it.
Right.
I think that's the hardest thing, especially your first one, is just doing it. And there's, I think, kind of 2 types of people. Brian and I are very different with our money. I'm not so much a spender, I'm a saver, but I'm also willing to take more risks, if you will. And especially since this is what we do for a living, real estate made sense to invest in. But it's if it weren't for me, I'm not saying Brian would never invest money, but we would not have our rental property at all if it wasn't something I pushed and he went along with. So it's just, you do have to kind of have that risky move and, make sure numbers are close, but just do it.
I would feel the same way about Pat. He has a finance degree and an MBA, so he's very conservative with money. And he kind of needs me just to throw him off the ledge and then let him know when to open the parachute, because he is so scared to spend money. Same with you.
Yeah.
We wouldn't be doing investments if it wasn't for me being we gotta go.
Let's just do it.
I just pushed you off, sorry.
Yeah. It's make your money grow. I mean,
Yes,
that's the point of it.
Yeah.
And you can't, it's not going to make very much money for you sitting in a bank account. So it makes sense to invest it. And if you are interested in investing it in real estate, these are a few things to help you. So I have a short-term rental. You have a long-term rental.
Yeah.
We have ours.
Hi, Maggie.
Hi.
We do not yet.
But you have clients that have worked
I know.
doing
Yes.
rentals.
Oh,
and,
yeah. Absolutely.
And I've flipped, I've flipped 2 houses, and then we've done commercial investments before.
Can you tell us what the flips first? Because that was the first on the list.
Yeah.
Yes.
I remember that was right when we got licensed, right? When you flipped that one?
The first one I flipped was probably my second year, so I don't think you
never
guys
mind.
were there yet.
I'm thinking of the
I think she was remodeling her rental property.
That's my rental property.
Yeah.
That was my half duplex. Yeah, that's the rent. Yes, so that's one we rehabbed, but it's the long-term rental.
Yeah.
No, the first one. So, which I mean, flips to me are definitely more like you've got to pay attention to the market really closely, because honestly, right now, I just don't think flips are a great investment, or they're not. They would be if you can find them. So, like right now, they're very hard. If a property hits the market, especially right now, even if it needs a lot of work, you're going to get up against multiple offers with investors, people who think that they can flip it, but you have to pay attention to those margins. There was a time where, in an opportunity where flips were definitely more like you could find the margins that made sense to where you could do it. So the first one we flipped, it was just a small...
Can you explain the margins? What you're looking for in the margins?
Yeah, so, well, kind of like a basic breakdown, and everyone has their own, like, what they want to make, like, what's their percentage on their ROI. I would say for a flip, 30% at least is what you want to ROI. It's a little bit different with a long-term rental since that takes time down the road. But for what you do with the margins is what's it going to cost to purchase the home, then what's it going to cost to rehab. So you have those two totals that you add up, and then what's it going to cost to sell the property. So you have the expenses of purchasing and selling, and then you subtract it from obviously what you sell it for. Right. So that's your margin, right? So you have to be able to work those numbers at the beginning before you even make an offer on a property to know, is this going to make sense on purchasing? Right. But when we did that, I remember it was like y'all are going to be like, oh my gosh, it was a house in Garland. It was a cute little, it turned into a cute little 3-bedroom, 2-bath. It was a Fox and Jacob home. So just picture that. So it was listed at $75,000. I was actually listing it. So I saw the opportunity right then and there. And, they talk about like, if you see an opportunity, buy it, don't put it on the market. So that's what we did. So I brought my dad in actually, cause he's, does all the handy stuff. And I said, Dad, this is for sure. And he was kind of like, are you sure? And I'm like, yes, which now he's like, I knew, you knew what you're talking about now. So bought it for like $70,000. That's crazy. It cost us like maybe, I don't remember the numbers, but it cost us like $30,000-$40,000 to fix that because it needed everything. It needed foundation, a fence. I mean, all the main things. We gutted it. It needed it all.
And how are you cash flowing that $40,000 of repairs?
Well, there's different ways that you can do it. We had that enough together to be able to put that, from the bank. So we didn't actually finance. We didn't finance any of it. So it just depends. If you wanted to finance, you can obviously there's, oh my gosh, I'm blanking. There's loans that you can get. There's hard money.
Yeah. What is it? 403K?
203K. Yeah, you could do an FHA 203K, which with that one, it's a little bit more tricky. I think maybe it has to be a residence. I don't think you can flip with a 203K.
Okay.
But you could do hard money loans. So that's an option. You could do which hard money loan, you're going to get a high interest rate at the very beginning because your goal is to obviously sell it before the rate goes up. So it is a higher rate, but at least you get the money. So we didn't have to end up financing it. We ended up reselling it. It was like $150 is what we sold it at. So we ended up netting about $50,000 off of that, which was well above that 30%.
And so most people would take that $50,000 and then use that as a down payment for the next investment. Yeah. So that's how flips would work. You would take your profits or whatever you make off of that and then you turn it in. And I think that goes into the, not really the BRRRR method, but do you want to talk about the BRRRR method right now?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of the BRRRR method, but BRRRR, which is B and then 4 R's, R, is you buy, BRRRR, you buy, then you rehab, then you rent it out, then you refinance it, so you get a loan put on it, so you take whatever that money from the refinance, and then you repeat. You go and buy another one with that refinance. I mean, that's usually the only time I recommend clients, like, pull money out of their, the whatever equity loan. And that's basically, to be able to buy more real estate.
And that's how people are buying all of these investment properties. They're BRRRRing over and over and over again until they have multiple properties that are long-term rental investment properties in their pocket.
I've also heard that's how people start. You start with a very inexpensive home, and then you take that money and then you buy a little bit of a nicer home with that. And so it's like you're able to eventually grow your portfolio to the price point that you prefer to be at, whatever that is, that you make your money grow.
Do y'all still have that house?
It was
we flipped. Yeah, we sold that one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we should have held on to it as a rental because now that house is probably worth. I mean, that's probably worth $300,000 now.
$300 in Garland.
But you never know. And real estate, investing is just, it's not as risky as the stock market in our opinion, but it is always, you never know. You never know. If I would have known that houses were going to be at the prices they were now, I would have bought in every house I could.
Yeah,
Seriously, like $70,000, that is insane.
Yeah. And it was a good value for the house with what it needed. So
that's crazy.
That was our first flip.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And you've done 2 since that one?
No, I did one other since then, and that one was a little bit smaller. It didn't need as much work. It was more just like lipstick kind of thing, and I think that one we netted like 30.
Cool.
Yeah, but we did the same thing.
Cool. And then your long-term investment, how long have you guys had it? How did you decide that was what you wanted to purchase, and how long have you had it rented?
So we've had that one for 2 years. We just put our first renter stayed in it for 2 years. We just put our second renter in it. Cool. So that one, it just was one of those, I knew we had some money sitting in the bank that I was like, it could be enough for a 20% down payment. Since it was our investment property, 20% is kind of that preferred and what most lenders require.
Right.
So once we had that, we bought it. It was like $150 when we bought it. So it was kind of, smaller, but it's a half duplex. We came in, and while we talk about not doing things ourselves, we did come in and we've kind of had we're young. We're like, we've got time.
Right.
We
Sweat
did
equity.
Yeah, we did paint. It really didn't need a ton of stuff. It just needed to be really cleaned up. And, we put in like a little mud bench and some easy things to make it look cuter, but just made it easy. And then we rented it out. I mean, with rentals, it's a little bit different because I'm not looking for like a 30% ROI immediately. I'm looking more for like 8 to 10% kind of as that cap rate. Right. And basically what I mean by that is what's the cost again to purchase? What's the cost, to maintain the property? Because yes, you need to set money aside for like when the AC goes out, plumbing fixes, things like that. But as long as we were netting, so like every month we probably net about $350 a month, which doesn't sound like a lot, but I keep all that in a separate bank account. I keep that $350 and it adds up. And that's after we pay the mortgage on it. We did finance that one. That's what does all the repairs and fixes. But when you go to resell, I mean, we bought that property for $150 about 2 years ago. It's now worth well over $200. So that's when you're going to make your money back, is when you go to sell it.
Do you manage it, or does someone manage it for you?
So I manage it, but it's only because I have one property and it's what we do for a living. Otherwise, I think I would definitely have someone else managing it.
You're stealing all of Maggie's nice questions.
Sorry. Yeah, I know. It's like, I'm really enjoying listening though. I can just listen all day.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
You're fine. No, you're fine. Continue on.
I think a good rule of thumb for a long-term investment is as long as you can rent it for 1% of what the sales price plus your kind of fix-up price is, that's a good rental. It's a sound rental.
I've heard the 1% rule.
Yeah, so as long as so if you buy it for $250 and you're gonna add $10,000 into it, so say $260, you should be able to rent it for $2,600 a month.
Yeah.
So that's a really good rule of thumb if you're thinking about like, well, how do I know if it's a good one? Run this the comps, make sure you can rent it for that much, and then it's either yes or no.
Yeah. And I think that's a great approach and like a quick way to do it. I also approach it as, what is my monthly payment going to be? How much can I, making sure I can at least, like, to me, $350 was like that, as long as I'm making that each month on a property like this at this scale, then it makes sense. So.
Right.
Cool.
Yeah.
So that's how much a year? I was going to do the math. But
350 times 12.
What's 350?
I don't know what. I don't know. I feel like I should know, but
$4,200.
$4,200. So yeah, we make about $4,200. Yeah, and you have to factor in luckily we didn't have a ton of cost to to fix it, because obviously we took some money out of our last tenant's security deposit because they had a dog that tore up stuff, so we did no pets this time. But it's just, we had to do that, and it cost us maybe $300 to fix up, flip it back over.
Right.
And the new tenant was able to move in midway through the month, so she prorated her amount, which covered our mortgage. So it just was great how we didn't have that huge cash, but you need to set aside and make sure. And now that we have enough in the account for that, what I'm going to start doing is a good tip for those that are renting out properties. Now that we have enough in there to maintain for big fixes and stuff, is I'm going to start putting more towards the principal, so we pay that down even sooner.
Have you just blanked, Maggie Jake?
I was
Go ahead.
I was about to say the dog thing. Like, I'm such a big dog person, but I can totally
it's hard.
understand why you would not. I mean, just depending on the. I mean, I have big dogs, and I don't think I would be if it were an investment property for me. I can totally relate to like not allowing dogs because some dogs can like. I know the damage ours do.
I mean, even cats and like, you know, we have
Litter
a cat.
boxes.
I said no to no pets because even some cats like, and we had people go, well, you know, my dog's old and like could, you know, doesn't do anything. And I'm like, yeah, what you're telling me is your dog pees inside because it can't control its bladder. And you know what I mean? And it's like, they're going to, and cats too, like they pee on stuff
Just
sometimes.
tell me how cold your heart is over there.
Well, no, it was hard because even the first tenant, we were only going to allow one pet and they had two. And I was like, okay. And then
you saw
we
the
should
backfire.
not have done that
Yeah.
because it did. It tore up, chewed up. One was like I guess
what?
a puppy, like the mud bench, the brand new mud bench we put in there. The whole like edge of it was like
Chewed.
yeah. So we had to like sand it down. We like made it look as best as possible. Blinds were chewed. The window seals
I thought
were chewed.
Hank was bad.
So I was just like, man, like, and so as much as like tenants say like, no, my dog's good, he's not gonna do anything. I'm like,
every person's gonna say that.
Yeah, I can't anymore.
Do you guys have it through an LLC or do you do it just
personally? If I can go back in time, we probably would have switched it into the LLC. We didn't have one set up at the time. Now we do, but it's like we just put it into our name. But the benefit of doing the LLC is like, say someone gets hurt on the property, which we do have like more, like our insurance covers for it being that. So if someone gets hurt on the property and tries to sue us, then if they sue the LLC, they're suing the LLC, not me directly. So there is that level of protection.
Right.
We have ours in the LLC, and the property is owned in the LLC and everything. So we just because of Pat's career and stuff, it just was smarter to do it that way.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yep. So that's my journey on my long-term rental.
So my one question is, what if I don't want to put 20% down?
So if you don't, there are a couple options. Some lenders will do less. There's actually some that will do 10%. You'll probably end up with a higher interest rate.
Of course. There's always a cost. So it's like,
Yeah.
I always joke, God doesn't give with both hands. So it's like,
There's
if you don't
no
get the
free
20%
lunch.
down,
Yeah.
then you're going to have to pay for it in another way, which is your higher rate.
Yeah. Which when you're buying an investment property, the rates are going to be higher anyways than your primary. But if you want to get around it, and if I was single and young again, I'm not youngish,
Ages
but
ago.
yeah, I know. Hey, I'm still the youngest here, so if I would go back, and what I know some like people in their 20s will do, and I mean, you don't have to be in your 20s to do this, but if you are able to do this with your lifestyle, they will buy a property that they plan to live in, and they will live in it. So you buy it with the minimum down, which, you know, could be 5%, whatever. You buy it, you live in it. Now, lender's going to require that you live there at least 1 year, but really 2 is preferred that you live there. Plus, in order to, which we're not CPAs, so we can't talk about this too much, to avoid capital gains tax. Well, I don't know. Talk to your CPA, because even if you own it for more than 5 years, I think you still have to pay something on it. But to avoid like some of the issues, you can use it as a primary residence for 2 years, and then you can turn around and rent it out. So that way you put 5% down, you rent it out, and then you go to buy your next house again as a primary residence. So
And you do minimum down payment on that one.
you put your minimum down, and then you do it again every 2 years. So I know there's people out there that do that, and great. You don't have to put 20% down.
Cool.
Yep.
All right. So now let's jump into short term. So Brandie, you own an Airbnb.
Yes.
The fascinating thing about this to me is that it's like states away.
Yeah.
Like I think like that's like one of the beauties of like owning rental properties. Really, like I'm part of like you know the Rainbow Network through Keller Williams. All the time there are agents saying like, hey, this is how much money I want to spend. This is the return I'm looking for. They'll post it in our group like, where do any of you guys in any of your areas have a property that fits this? So, like a lot of the agents that I know, like they own rental properties, short-term, long-term, all that, in like various parts of the country.
Yeah.
So that's like one of the things that we haven't really talked about, but you don't have to just like do this like in your own backyard.
Yeah.
You can find something that fits your budget maybe in another area, and you can just have someone else manage it.
For sure.
So yours is in Florida.
Yes, ours is in Pensacola, and this is where my family's from. And we just found ourselves there like 4 to 5 times a year. And we were always renting and spending money at a condo. And my aunt and uncle moved back. My parents have been back more. And it was just like, we keep wasting money. We know we're always going to come back. Why don't we invest in something? And so we this was like definitely a Brandie pushed Pat off the ledge, and he just had no choice but to fall.
This was a very
But
quick decision.
It
Yeah,
happened
I
so
remember.
fast. So
Sometimes you
we
do
were
have to be that
you
quick to
have
make a decision, though.
I'll never forget. So this part of Pensacola that we bought in, they're just going through and cleaning it up and bringing it up and making it better. We used to drive past it, and it was just like literally just awful. But it is less than a mile from downtown Pensacola, so you can walk to all the shopping, walk to everything. And we passed it on the way to lunch with my aunt and uncle, and I was like, did y'all see that? And I had a search going with a realtor for 2 to 3 years, so we would come into town and be like, yeah, let's kind of go look at this. And this was the first trip that we'd actually looked at properties, and this house had just come available. It was like 2 days after we had seen seen houses. We were on the way.
Construction, right?
Yeah, we were on the way to lunch with my aunt and uncle. We passed it, and I like joked to my aunt. I was like, I just want to go look at it, but our realtor was busy that day. And so my aunt, we joked that she's the mayor because she grew up there. She knows everyone, and so she's like, we'll just stop in. And like being a realtor, I was like, we will not just stop in, Aunt Teresa.
Yeah.
Like this is not how this works. And she knocks on the front door. I have a picture of her and my uncle like marching off to like see the property. She opens the front door, and some cleaning lady's like, come on in, take a look. And I was like, we're not supposed to be here. I was so like, I just felt like it wasn't the right thing. So I walked through it so fast. Like I didn't take pictures. I didn't do anything, whatever. But then we left, and I was like, Pat, that's the house. Like, it's perfect. It's 3 bedrooms, 3 baths. It's less than a mile from Palafox, which is the downtown, like, drag of Pensacola. Like, it's everything. Like, and It's literally between 2 major beaches, between Pensacola Beach and Perdido Key. It's 12 minutes to my aunt's house. Like, it just was everything. And he was like, okay. So I called our realtor, and I was like, we're going to put an offer in. We're going to do this. And she's
Your
like,
realtor's like, that's the easiest money I've ever made.
She was
we
like,
all love that. We all dream of that phone call.
She was like,
love those kind of
okay,
buyers.
well, it's multiple offer situation, come highest and best. And Pat was like, no, we're doing this. This much is my max. And I was like, we're gonna lose it. And he stood his ground. And he was like, if you're throwing me into this, I'm only gonna go this high. And she called us like an hour later. She's like, I don't know why they chose you guys, but they did. And I was like,
how high? How aggressive was y'all's offer? If you,
we
like,
went at asking price. Pat
shoot.
was like, we are not going over. We are not doing anything. We're not.
Did y'all write a letter or anything?
No, nothing. I don't know.
I mean, there could be so many reasons.
I think so our realtor was a family friend's daughter, and they knew like our family ties to the city. I don't know if she like said something to the owner or that she knew the builder.
Awesome.
Yeah.
But I remember it was the day we were leaving to come back to Dallas, and we got to Mobile, which is like an hour and a half, and she texted us like, you guys got it? And Pat was like, oh my God.
I just
And
remember
so
you-
then it was like okay, well,
he
we
was
did that.
secretly like, we're not getting it.
Yes,
Okay,
Pat was
I'll get it.
like, you pushed me off the ledge and it's not gonna happen. But then it was like oh crap, because we were like, well, what do we do now? Like, this is okay. And so we knew we were going into it with the intentions of it was gonna be a short-term Airbnb rental, and we would take certain weeks and go for our family time. So like we weren't gonna have to pay anymore. We were gonna do that. We didn't really know what we'd gotten into, but the lady that was next door to us was moving in on the same day, and she ended up being our saving grace because she was doing Airbnb also. So we kind of have had this like sisterhood of like, we're doing this together. Like, we're never gonna, our prices will always stay the same. If we're gonna change prices, I'll let you know. That way we can both be okay. But she also has a cleaning company. So the hardest thing I found when doing everything was I could not find dependable cleaners. I interviewed 3 people, and interviewed as in like I called them on the phone, and when they showed up, they did not show up for their interview. I could not find anyone who was dependable. So she had one lady that she had hired and had let her down. So she got rid of a few of her clients so she could take on our house and her house. So that's been like the best connection that we've had, because that was the hardest part about all of it.
Yeah, I just remember all of a sudden one day you were like, yeah, I bought a beach house. And I'm like, what?
Yeah. It was just
Such a fun
So
story.
does your
Wait, Jake, did you have something?
Yes. So I was going to ask. So obviously, it's smart to look for a property that doesn't have an HOA, correct?
Right. So ours did not have an HOA. It is a very small lot line. I mean, we have a very small backyard, but we ended up putting a patio in. We felt like there were certain things. So ours is called the Hometown Dream. We wanted to make it an experience more than just like you can put beds in it and make it an Airbnb and throw people in it. But for us, like this was so special to me that it was almost like a passion project. So I was like, I want this to be like people come to my hometown and they just have the best time ever and it feels like home and we have these amenities like to the point where like we have like this like weird trade going on in the freezer where like we leave pizza rolls and then like we find ice cream like and like people just kind of like leave all these like little things and it's become this like the pantry we always have like. And as a mom traveling, I always felt like I was traveling with 2 toddlers. I would want to be in Airbnbs because they're more comfortable than hotels.
Absolutely.
But I would always get there and be like, oh, I have to go grocery shopping now because my kids have to eat in the morning. And it was a 12-hour travel day. And so what we do is we always have like oatmeal or pancake mix that is in the pantry. So if moms get in late or families get in late, they can know that they can feed their kids in the morning at least and then have that. And we have certain little amenities like syrup and ketchup and stuff that like I remember when we would go to the condo, we always had to buy toilet paper and shampoo and conditioner. And so then you're like throwing it away. And so that was stuff that I wanted to provide to people because I wanted to give them an experience in my hometown.
Yeah, I think that's huge with Airbnbs is they're not just paying for a place to lay their heads like they almost want to be like they live there.
I want like very similar amenities to a hotel. Like in a hotel, like if I forget my soap, like there is some there. If I shampoo, like all those things are there.
Blow dryers
and like
curling irons. Just like little things like we always have 2 extra towels. So like we give everyone 2 towels, but there's 2 extra towels underneath. So like if you don't want to use the same towel for your hair, you can have that. Like there's just little things that you can just treat people with care and love.
Yeah. Like you have toys and like pack and play.
Yeah.
Like,
so that was another thing with traveling with kids. Like it was so hard for me to travel with pack and play with 2 kids who were 13 months apart and they're babies. So like to know that going into this place that not only do we have toys, books, coloring books, and pack and play, like a sunshade for when you're at the beach, kids beach towels, like they're all cleaned and washed every time by our cleaner also. Like they're sanitized, they're done. So I think that like really helps everything.
Yeah, for sure. And I know there's companies that will manage them and stuff like that and do this, but does your lady who cleans also like put out like, you know, the shampoos, things, and does she take like inventory of everything to like know if you need to deduct for things that get broken?
Yeah, so what we do is we have, which this was something that she taught me. We were about to leave our very last time, which getting furniture last year was a doozy. So we actually weren't able to launch until like 4 months after we wanted to. But we have an owner's closet, and I'll never forget, like I had put this dresser where we put all the linens and towels and stuff in the master closet, and she came over and she's like, you can't leave this out. And I was like, what do you mean? She's like, people will literally take towels and they'll take extra shampoo and they'll take extra light bulbs and they'll take the Tide wash. And I never thought of that. Yeah, and so she was like, all of this needs to be locked. And so we ended up moving closets, and we have an owner's closet where like all of the cleaning supplies, all of the extra toilet paper, paper towels, everything's locked away, which that was another thing that I'd never thought of.
Right.
I wouldn't have really thought of that.
And so we always leave 2 toilet paper rolls underneath each sink. Because you really shouldn't be going through that much toilet paper, and if you are, then you can purchase it. And there's always 2 paper towels. Yeah. Oh God.
Crab cakes or something.
Yeah.
Or my husband staying there.
Oh my God. Yeah. So like, there's like, and we leave extra paper towels.
How does he feel
But
about
Don't.
But as far as property managing, this was like a big passion project. So I manage it. I'm the face of it. I'm the one who mingles with everyone, and so it's really just me.
Yeah.
Our plumbing is good. We have good plumbing.
Okay. So you do that, and then that's like the giggle chair or something over there.
It is.
No, Jake
I know.
Jake is at the point right now.
I was literally like ugly crying laughing.
Maggie, I thought that you were upset.
I literally was crying.
I'm composed.
So
How do you market your property? Getting us back on track here.
I do Instagram, and then my goal for our first year in business, so we bought it last May, and we weren't able to launch until the middle of July, and so we kind of had that gap time, but my goal within our first year was to become a super host, and so we reached that, and so being a super host now will show up on all the searches on Airbnb, and then just Instagram, we have a website, Word
So
of mouth.
you're on Airbnb and VRBO?
Just Airbnb right
Really?
now.
I've
I
heard
am
that
so
they-
scared to intertwine them and mix our calendars.
No,
and-
I've heard they talk to each other though. I'm pretty sure
They do.
heard where if someone books on Airbnb, it will take that that week out or
I
whatever.
need to just like sit down and be able to like have the time to do that because that's like on my list to do right now. 'Cause
Yeah. It's good
it
that
would be
they
good.
talk.
Yeah, but we have had a study of like every other week we've been booked except for January and February. February have been our slowest months, which it's gonna be a slow season. So we kind of expected that. Yeah.
I bet y'all are like really busy over like holidays, huh? Like
Yeah, so-
Christmas and 4th of July.
You had someone stay over Christmas, didn't
Yeah,
you?
we had someone staying
It's a big
Thanksgiving and Christmas. And so another thing that like a lot of Airbnbs kind of just set you up for like you have the basics, right? And you just that's all you can do. But one of the things I really wanted to do was make sure that someone could come in and host their family. And so the girl for Thanksgiving, we kind of told her like if there's something that you find you don't have, message me, I'll Venmo you for it, and then you can just stay at the house. And she actually texted me. She's like, we had everything. Like you had thought of it all. You'd done everything to like, and that was my goal. I really wanted people to feel at home and like they weren't missing something. And then Christmas, one of my best friends stayed for Christmas. I actually am very picky. I don't allow certain holidays to be booked.
Like
so
which ones?
New Year's Eve is one of them because I don't want it's a potential to
Want it to
be
be a party.
completely trashed.
Yes, that
and
makes so
on
much
Airbnb
sense.
you can there's like an instant book or there's like a pre-approval book, and we also have the pre-approval book, and I have no problem just being very picky with who gets to stay there because it is a party.
Yeah.
It's a party beach town, so
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
have to. But the crazy thing, which
Yeah.
I don't think a lot of people know about Airbnb, is if I tell someone they can't stay, then those get taken away from me. So like no one else can book for those dates.
Oh, so if you deny someone, then someone.
So if I deny them, they block out those weeks that
is
person
that like
asked.
fair?
So
Like
nobody else can ask. Oh, okay.
Which is kind of frustrating.
That is because
But-
you would think as a host, like when you go to rate, like when you stay somewhere, you get rated and they get rated, and it's like if they have bad ratings, you should be
Right.
able to be like, I don't know.
I heard that was, and this could be totally wrong. I heard that started after there was some sort of
Like a
loss-
lawsuit.
yeah.
lawsuit over
Fair
possible
housing or-
discrimination.
I
Well,
would-
it wouldn't be
I-
fair housing because it's not ownership.
Well, I guess,
Yeah,
But
I could see that being a thing,
discrimination.
and I'm fine with it. Like, if I really do truly believe that I don't want these people in my house, or that they could, if they have awful reviews, and I just don't, I'm ready to take that loss. I have not done that, so that's good.
Yeah.
But I will block it out for like New Year's Eve
Yeah.
and
Yeah, that's
4th of July and
smart.
stuff
I'm
that I
booking
know
it
that
for New Year's
people.
Eve next year. Y'all are all invited. We're gonna throw a rager.
Well,
Well, you're not invited. No. You're not
we
invited.
all need to go though.
No,
Yeah.
we should go. It's so much
be so
fun, and it's
fun.
just
Absolutely.
it's just like the little things that we did to make it home. Like we added
Yeah.
a back patio. There was certain things that we did spend a little bit more money than we would have if it was a long-term rental, just to give that quality of comfort
Yeah.
to people. But certain things I didn't think about when doing a short-term investment is like how much stuff you need, like how
Yeah.
many linens, how many
Yeah.
towels,
Yeah.
how many we always provide shampoo and conditioner, but then there's always an extra underneath each sink. So like then we also have like 4 extra in each closet. I have a rule that every time we're in Target at Pensacola, we just buy a body wash because
Oh, and then
we
you
just-
refill them.
no, then we just keep them in the
Oh.
back closet so we never run out.
Yeah.
Especially heading into busy season.
Yeah.
Busy season, we already are like half booked for the whole summer.
Yeah.
Which is cool.
So did you budget whenever you bought it? Did you budget for like we're gonna need to basically furnish this whole thing, or did it just kind of happen and you go, oh shoot, we
Do you guys want to hear the craziest thing? This happens to us more than it should. So we are going to finance the beach house, and we found out because Pat plays for the NFL and only ever gets 1-year deals. It makes us really hard to get homes.
Is he technically a 1099?
No, he's W-2, but most lenders are like, well, you only have a 1-year deal. What if you never play football again?
like they.
So
like,
I mean,
question of
it's a
future
good,
income.
it's a
Yeah.
great. I mean, it's a good
Makes
thing for
sense
them to
why that
ask that
gets
question.
questioned.
But our realtor gave us her preferred lender, and we were supposed to close on a Friday. So we were driving down. No, we were supposed to close. Yeah, on a Friday.
On the
we were
beach
supposed to drive. Yeah, on the beach house. We were driving down. Thursday, staying with my aunt one day so we could be there in the morning to close. The lender told us on Wednesday that we were not going to get into the house. And then our financing had fallen through.
That happened on the beach house?
Yeah, so 2 days before.
Wow.
So Pat's best friend had already come into town to help him drive the U-Haul. Me and the kids' cars, the U-Haul was packed, like of all of our furniture that we were taking down.
This panic.
Everything. And so they told us on a Wednesday that we weren't closing Friday, that there was no way he could get us financing. It was a mess.
Was this house?
It happened on this house too.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, nope. It's like repeat offender. So Pat's best friend was sitting here, and Pat's best friend, his brother plays for Green Bay. So he kind of can just like understand the football thing and was kind of here to keep our heads on straight. And he just looked at us. He was like, well, like maybe you could pay cash. And Pat literally spit out his water. He was like, absolutely not. And I was like, well, then we aren't going to get the house, and we're going to have a U-Haul full of clothes, like stuff. Like I have no idea. And that's like, Dave Ramsey talks about like building wealth. You pay cash for your investments, and that's how you build this wealth. It was talk about throwing Pat off the ledge. It was the biggest risk we've ever taken. I mean, it was almost everything we had. And so we were like,
y'all couldn't, like, there's no way y'all could have financed.
Yeah, nope. And so and that lender actually was kicked off her list after that, because she was like, this is the third time he's done that. And it was the craziest.
You're like, girl, why'd you give it to me after the first two then?
And so we ended up we had budgeted only furniture. We had never thought that we were going to have to pay cash for this and then buy everything else. And so Pat, last year was rough. Pat, I think, but now it's like the best thing ever, because we don't have to worry about like January and February. We don't have renters, so we don't have a payment. Yeah, so like it is.
Well, if you think about it, and that's like with us, like we literally, which this sounds bad, but like when we went to the bank the other day, they're like, you guys have too much in savings.
Yes,
you need to put this somewhere else.
Well, people have told us like you cannot have this laying around, because after some, it's not insurable. Like after a certain point, and that's like
that, and it's not making. It could make so much money. I mean, this is making you money.
Yeah,
and so that's sitting in the bank.
We're meeting with a financial person, because like. We need to set up,
figure out what to do.
And it's so scary too to make that leap and spend the money, but there was no other thing. Like what else were we gonna do with it? We had never made an investment in the money. We could have bought a car wash. We had never done anything with our money, and so to make this leap, because we didn't do 500 things before it, since it was our first one, it was easy just to be like, okay, let's go.
So I do have one question, because I saw this. It was like a TikTok or something. I follow some people on TikTok and on Instagram about investments. So I always want to, because I'm very interested in the Airbnb stuff. They said something about, maybe you know what they were talking about, because I forgot. As long as you who owns it, stays in the house for at least 2 weeks out of the year, there's something you can do with taxes. I don't know.
I need to figure that out, because I'm staying there.
More than 2 weeks.
Yeah. It's something about like you don't have to pay some certain tax or something.
Well, there's a thing too.
I think stay there for 2 weeks.
I need to meet with a new CPA, because there's so many little like Pat's dad, which I actually shouldn't say
that should have been.
Well, there's
we
also
bought a car because we need to go back and forth, like carry all this stuff off. And his dad, I'm not a CPA, I can't do this. His dad was like, you could basically write that car off as a business expense, but there's so many loopholes and things that like we don't know that we need to learn.
There's also different rules about like owning property in certain states. Then makes you then end up having to pay. That state's like if they have an income tax, and even if like in Texas we obviously don't have that, but like
luckily Florida doesn't either.
Yeah, but like if you owned a property, like I know like New York is that way. Like if you own a property in New York, even if it's an investment property, you then have to pay income taxes, even if your personal income.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Some states tax you even if you don't live there.
Well, and I think that's why.
And New York used to pay. Again, I don't know if it is still.
Talk to CPA, yeah.
We did talk to CPA.
Like I feel like that's little like jargon, underneath the.
But at least we're like bringing it up, like it's something to like
think about.
Talk about.
Well, this is. I wish that people would have sat down with us and like, these are things you're gonna think about. Or you need 3 pairs of linens.
Well,
you
kind of jumped into it pretty quickly, so probably someone didn't. Really
literally, you told me I bought a beach
into the fire real fast.
I mean, and sometimes with investments, you do have to fail forward too. Like not every.
If we had thought about it for 2 more seconds, we probably would have never. Especially knowing about the financing stuff, we would have never done it, and that's terrifying.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
But that's a little bit about rentals and investments. And if y'all have any questions, this is something I feel like we could talk about forever. So if you wanted to do more questions and we could answer more questions.
I think the biggest thing is focusing on like what are your goals, as an investor, if you're looking to make an immediate return on your investment with, maybe flips or something. Do you have the funds to be able to do it? Are you willing, do the numbers make sense? There's so many things to it. It's not like cookie cutter, like XYZ, and this is how much money you're going to make by just investing.
Right.
And that's why not everyone does it, right?
Right.
Because it's not always a sure thing, but just sitting down and like communicating, like, what are your goals? How much money do you have?
I
Let's do
think
it.
part of it too is identifying how risk adverse you are, because obviously a flip is going to be the highest risk. I feel like short-term rentals are kind of like medium risk, because you may end up in an area that maybe for some reason tourism dies in that area for like a little bit or something.
COVID hits again.
Yeah, or something like that.
But here's
and then long-term rentals are obviously, I think, like the least risky.
And they are. And so short-term rentals, we're seeing the builder who built ours, they're basically like little row homes, not connected.
They're like garden houses, right?
Yeah, exactly. And so they are now oversaturated. They've built like 10 more since us last year, and most people know that they can do Airbnb. So now we're set with more competition than we thought. So short-term rentals, there's just so much to think about, and I would do it again, but I would only do it again because it's in my hometown, I think.
Also, sorry, one last question on this. Do your rates obviously fluctuate through the year? Is there anybody that like from Airbnb that sits you down and like coaches you through that, or is that just up to you to kind of figure out and learn kind of where you can set that rate?
Or see what others are
You can see what others are renting for. You can also see like the trends in your area. So it'll tell me like, hey, people are renting for X amount % less right now.
Okay.
Because our house, I feel like, has a higher standard and has more amenities than a lot of the houses that are on the market, we are at a higher price. I think from January until March we're $300, and then March through September 1st we're $350. And last year we had $215, so we went up this year because we had more bookings. Then also my neighbor, we go back and forth, and she'll be like, hey, I don't have bookings for February, I've dropped my price to this. And so that gives me the price to be able to drop our price then at that point. And a couple of us have it, and we talk through it, and I think that's been really cool too.
Have you guys ever heard of, I had to look it up because several people I follow about Airbnbs. So it's AirDNA, so AIRDNA.com. If you put in the address here, it kind of gives you some of those stats, like how rentable is it for that area, how many rental, Airbnbs are already there. So I think that's a good site.
It's like one of my things too. Like I would love to own. We've always gone to Galveston like as a family. It's like even if we don't continue to do that, it would be a fantastic place to own a rental property.
Yeah,
It's just like one of
and
those
you
things.
would use it. Like it's
Absolutely.
something that, like
I
as a
love that
family,
you
we're
would
always using it.
Yeah.
Like, and I think too, I had something else to
And you're
say.
familiar with the area. You know how to even like talk about the area. Like I don't know if you do this, but some Airbnbs we stay in, they're like, here are some restaurants to try.
Yeah.
Like it's like
I have a whole
binder.
website. I have a website that says like, hey, breakfast, lunch, dinner, beach.
Yeah.
If you have kids, if you don't have kids, like this is the
Right.
bars. Like it's just so nice to have those amenities for people.
for sure.
And I threw Tootie's birthday party working with only Pensacola people because I wanted people. A big passion of mine is support that community also. And give back to them that way. So
Love it.
supporting local.
Absolutely.
Love it.
I love that.
Now I want an Airbnb
I know,
and I
right?
want a beach house.
Yeah.
It's so funny because we call it the beach house, but you really have to get in the car to drive to a beach. So
What do you call it? No, you call
it's
it
the hometown dream.
the hometown dream. That's
It's
the name
cute.
of it.
Yeah.
So they can get on Instagram and find the hometown dream.
Yes,
and they
the
find it there.
_ hometown dream.
It's so light and airy and pretty.
Thanks.
Yeah.
It's
very-
my passion. I love it so much.
Yeah.
Love, love, love. Okay, guys.
All right.
Okay, see
That's
you
what
I
we
think
next
we're
have
finally
on
wrapping this one up.
Yeah.
See ya.
Bye.
Investments.
Jake's like, we're done.